I was going to try to do this as a live stream, but apparently that's not going to work today. So I just wanted to tell part of my truth because, one, I'm very appreciative of the movement that we have going on here on YouTube now, where people are talking about their real lives as opposed to just showing people the highlight reel. I am someone who would always tell you what you see is what you get. And that is absolutely the truth. Who I am behind closed doors is who I am in front of you. Now, that said, um, I still had to learn who I was, though, because for many, many years, I was what you call a chameleon. Again, I was undiagnosed neurodiverse. So I didn't know that part of being a chameleon had to do with how my brain was wired, where I would mirror people, right? And it really wasn't about trying to fit in. Now, I feel like that's a lie. Like the minute I was going to say that, it felt like I was telling a lie. Okay, so I guess it was about trying to fit in because I immediately went back to second grade of where I was new to the school and there was this very popular girl and I wanted to be just like her, to the point where I stuck a toothpick between my teeth, my nice tight beautiful white teeth, because she had a gap. And I learned how to braid because she knew how to braid. And I would create aluminum foil or gum wrapper um, braces because she had braces. So let me not lie. Let me not lie, because I guess I was about to tell a lie. So I'm gonna pull that back. I guess it was about trying to fit in. I guess it was about trying to be accepted, because this was actually the first situation in my life where I wasn't, right? Because I was new to school, etc. So, um, that said, I didn't realize that I didn't know myself until I was in the hospital 5 years ago. 5 years ago this month. 6 years ago now, excuse me, that was 2018. 6 years ago this month with pulmonary embolisms. So, with blood clots in my lungs that could have at any moment been swept up. And y'all let me know if you want me to tell that story, and I will. Because the only reason I knew to go to the hospital was because of my angels. And there was nothing wrong enough for me to know that that was what the reason was. It was literally because I saw the angels that I called the ambulance. So let me know if you want to hear that story. If you do, I'll share that story later. Obviously on another video. But that was the first place that I realized, oh, I don't know myself. I don't know my own voice. And those 5 days that I spent inside of the hospital were, ooh, don't cry. I came face to face with my mortality, y'all, because I realized how easily I could have died not knowing something was wrong. And not just on a physical level, but on my real life level. I got to blink these out because, oh God, I got to blink them out. There's so many. Um, Without realizing that there was something wrong. I didn't know that I didn't know me. I didn't know that I didn't know my own self. And that was the first time I got to face that, to realize I don't know my own voice. And for the next few years, that was part of my journey. And I quit teaching 3 times. This is relevant, I promise. I quit teaching 3 times. The first time in 2015, the second time in 2018, just a few months before this thing happened. And so in December of 2018, I went back to teaching. I went to a job fair and I got a teaching job in January, and I taught until 2020, late 2020. Um, And so this is when I first got made unemployable by God, because while I was out during the pandemic, I had been like praying to God. I had been writing in my journal prayers because I could not pray in my head. I would be distracted. I would, come up with all these other reasons of why I couldn't pray. And so I would start praying on paper. And so I would have a prayer journal, and it was called Dear God. Like, I literally would write out Dear God. And every page that I started was Dear God, Dear God, Dear God, every time I wrote. And I was filling up books and books and books of prayer because I needed it. I really needed to have a stronger relationship. But not only that, I needed guidance. And there was no one out here who can give it to me. Nobody. Because when you are a multi-talented, multi-gifted person and multi-passionate and a chameleon, people only know you how they met you. And so they only know what you're good for by how they needed you and how they could use you. And it was never sufficient for me. It was never enough for me. And so I was praying to God who made me. Like, dude, what'd you make me to do? Like, can you please get a little bit clearer with me? Because, like, help me, right? Um, and so in one of those prayers, not one, in almost all of them, he would tell me to keep writing. So I had started writing movies at the time, romance movies where Black women were being loved and without the struggle of. They were just experiencing love of different types of love, right? So I started writing these movies, and they were getting, well, at this time I only had one, and it was getting good feedback and good reviews. But I was supposed to be writing the book of it, and I had started the book, but I didn't finish. And God was like, keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. And I'm like, dude, like, we need money. And so we're in 2021. I don't have any unemployment. I only had got like 2-3 months of it before it got cut off. And I had filed bankruptcy, and we got a letter from our rental agency. They were trying to take advantage of the rental boom, so they were kicking us out. So that I figured out this is what they were doing, because there was nothing that needed. Like, we were paying, they were getting things. So the letter was like, we're not renewing because we want to renovate. I'm not asking you to renovate. You're getting my money. You're getting $12.50 a month. Um, I'm not asking you to renovate. The house is fine. And anyway, so we ended up having to move, and they had put the house on the market um, the following March for $1,800. Wow. And so I definitely knew what I knew, and I was right. But anyway, so it was hard because everybody was doing that, and with the bankruptcy, no income, so my credit is ruined. Just life was hard, hard. And I'm praying to God. I'm like, dude, tell me what to do. And he told me to quit coaching. Like, right now, my channel says um, my name, I think, and then it says Purpose Brand Coach. I'm even about to drop that because of the other message that I had received this week. And anyway, so he just kept saying, keep going, keep writing, keep going, keep writing. But now the stress was compiling, and I couldn't write because writing feels like a luxury. Y'all feel that way? If you are a creative, like of a writer or an artist or a song maker or some sort of creator, a handy worker or something, does your work feel like a luxury? Especially if your work takes a long time and people aren't necessarily looking for your work, like I'm being told that nobody wants to buy movies where Black women are being loved, or they don't want to pay $3 million to make the movie. Oh my God, that's so high. But that literally counts as a low budget film at $3 million budget, when typically films are 10 million or more. And it was like, oh, it's not commercial enough. What's not commercial about love? Romance movies are commercial. And, and my things were more real life, where, for instance, her husband leaves her because he has another chance at his old love, like the one he actually loved. They got married out of necessity, these two. And so he gets rekindled with the person he loves, and he leaves. And it's hard for him because they have a child together, but he leaves. And people are like, you need to fight for your marriage. And she's like, I don't know if I want to. And so people aren't writing stories like that. They're not writing stories about women like really realizing, like, yeah, I'm married, but this isn't the guy I wanted to marry. I'm married, but I don't know what I want out of life. Nobody's ever really asked me that question. It's always about what I could do for them. Obviously, my movies are a bit about my life. I've never been married, by the way. So people weren't looking for those kinds of stories. And people are like, well, make them yourself. I don't have $3 million. They're like, well, make lower budget movies. I don't have lower budget movies. I don't have that. It's weird. That's not what God gave me to do. And part of my gifting when it comes to writing is I have to hear my characters, and I can't tell my characters, oh no, you can't want to go to Puerto Rico because that's not low budget enough. Find another location. Can you? Anywho, so for 3 years, essentially, I've been disobedient, or 4 years, in that I hadn't been able to write because I had been so stressed, and writing felt like a luxury. And so I was praying to God, like, God, I need a job. I need a job. I need a job. And he's like, no, you can't work. And I heard that for 3 straight years. No, you can't work. No, you can't work. And then finally, I'm like, God, I'm facing an eviction. I need to work, or you need to make something shake. Now, mind you, I'm still not paying attention. Sorry. I'm still not paying attention to the fact that I did not walk in obedience of writing. I'm not paying attention to that because I'm like, God, that's going to take too long. I have to write. I have to edit. I have to publish. I have to market. I have to find people to get it. And then Amazon, if I post it on Amazon, Amazon is going to take 3 months to pay me. So you're asking me to spend 6 months waiting on a payday when I can go get a job and start getting paid every 2 weeks? Come on, God. I need to take care of my family, whatever. Well, um, I got a job just before the eviction, but it was not enough. And in fact, God told me not to get it. I felt to turn it down. It was only paying $20 an hour. I was already being served an eviction, so it was not going to save anything. And when I went there, it felt strange out of my spirit. And I thought, I just don't want to work. I just don't want to work. I just don't want to work. So this isn't God talking to me. This is me talking to me. I just don't want to work. And I got in there, and y'all, God was talking to me because I kept asking people, I'm like, my spirit is really agitated. Why is my spirit so agitated? Why is my spirit agitated? And come to find out, this guy was highly immoral, highly immoral. And like, one example I'll give is that he had an opportunity to get R. Kelly's music catalog, and he was excited about it. And that's when I went, oh, I'm in the wrong place. Wow, really? Now, y'all, this is well after R. Kelly has been arrested for what he's done. Well after we have the documentaries and we know what he's done. And he's excited to get his hands on this man's discography, his music, because do you know how much money that will pay? That's the lightest of the things that I found out in the 2 months that I worked there. And I understood why my spirit was agitated. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn that I needed to listen to God. I'm grateful for you know, that he allowed God to use him to extend a place to stay for 2 months after I did get evicted. Um, but like when I was about to get a job in August of last year that paid very well, it was paying $43 an hour. It would have saved our lives. It would have allowed me to stay in Atlanta. It would have taken care of my family. My partner had just got a job too in June or July of that year, of last year. And so we would have been fine. But God said no. And then I got down here. And even with my depression and my crying, y'all, I'm 45. Me and three of my kids are living with my parents. And while I'm grateful for that support and that opportunity, this is not where I saw my life at 45. And before we got here, after I dropped my kids off here, I had to go back up there to return the car and everything. But for 2 days, we were homeless, sleeping in the car. And then a friend used her points and gave me 2 nights of hotel stay. And we had been able to raise $1,000 through GoFundMe. And so that allowed me to get my kids down here, to rent the car, to buy packing boxes, to get a storage, etc. So that allowed me to do that. But then I still had to come here. And and so I got here, and in December of that year, of last year, I I put out so many resumes, and I finally got called. And I did 3 interviews with this company, and the vibes, the energy was extremely good. And I was like, all right, I got it. And then they ghosted me too. And I was like, God, what is up, man? And now, mind you, they weren't paying any money. I mean, they were paying money, so I would have been able to help my parents instead of continuing to burden them. Um, they were paying $65,000, which would not have allowed me to move on my own because I live in Miami right now. So it would not have allowed me to move, but it would have allowed me to help my parents because like our water bill, our light bill is like $800,000 because there are 7 people living here right now. Anyway, so in that time, because God kept telling me no, he said right. And so I got to work. First I was journaling, and then one day God was like, do you see what you're doing? I was like, what am I doing? And he goes, go back a page. And so I went back a page. And before I started doing my prayer journal, I had put things I needed to do, things that I'm grateful for. Like I put things down first. And then God was like, did you see that? I think people need that. Why don't you make a journal? So I did, right? This is the very first journal I ever made. I told y'all my journals were called Dear God, right? And so here's a Dear God journal. And and it had exactly everything that I did, right? So it has the things that I need to do today. It has my top 3 priorities out of those things that I need to do. It has the thoughts that are weighing down on me. And then it had my space for, sorry, wrong page. That's left over from the previous day. Then it has my space for counting my blessings and gratitude, right? Because that's so, so, so important because we pray, 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 but we forget to look and see if God answered prayers. And so that's here. And then there's my Dear God section. Sorry, y'all, I stem, so I bite my nails really bad. So there's the Dear God section. And so I give 2 pages of that because I usually write 3, 4 pages. And then another part of where God revealed. So what did God reveal to you during your prayer? And that's for people here. I did it like dot matrix for people who want to draw what they saw. And then there's at the end of the week, there's a recap. And I also put a coloring page, but for coloring pencils and stuff because the paper's too thin for markers. But anyway, And so that's the weekly recap. Like, what were the answer prayers? What are your goals? How have you heard God's voice, etc. And so that's this journal. And I created it because of what God said to me. And when I made this journal, I was like, God, what does this have to do with business? And he just said, keep going. That's all I kept getting. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And I said to myself, like, God, where do you want me to keep going? You want me to keep driving off a cliff? Because I feel like I'm headed towards the bottom of the bottom because I'm already at rock bottom. I feel like I'm headed towards the bottom of the bottom. And he was like, no, keep going. And so then he's like, you know that what you had done with your resume, you remember like how you got called and you got called into that job for $43? You got called in that job for 65? You got called in these jobs for things? Well, I want you to take what you did and I want you to put it in a workbook. And so I put a workbook together based off of the steps that I did. And people who followed what I told them got interviews, got jobs. And I was like, okay, God, why are you giving me this stuff for myself, but it's not working for me? Why is it not working for me? And I heard again, because I told you not to work. What? Okay. So then in my prayer and meditation, it's like, I need you to work on yourself. So I need you to work on things. So first off, created a male version of Dear God, right? Because that was so girly. And my partner, he was going through his things, his storms. He was going through it too. And so I created a male version of this. You see the sun peeking through the clouds, the storm. Um, and it's a little bit more action oriented for men, engaging and envisioning, like those type of things. Um, like you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. So, and then he was like, I need you to work on things because I needed to, right? And so he was like, I need you to love yourself. And so I started working on that. And this came out of this mantra that God gave me, which is my dreams are bigger than my drama. And so again, there's Dear God, right? Because it's another Dear God journal, but it's very specific because this one has prompts. Okay, so like list 3 future goals or aspirations. For each one, write how achieving these goals align with and reflect your self worth. Because God was like, you need to start loving yourself. You need to start seeing yourself the way that I see you. And I'm like, okay. But I'm like, okay, so God, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. It's not all working. And in prayer, he made me realize that I hadn't forgiven myself. I hadn't forgiven myself for the bad choices I made. I haven't forgiven myself for being in the position that I was in. I hadn't forgiven myself for giving my services for free to people instead of charging them the hundreds and thousands of dollars of that other people were charging. Like I had to forgive myself for the position I put my family in. I had to forgive myself for wanting to actually walk into traffic back in November. Like I had to forgive myself. And so that created this other Dear God journal. Again, my purpose is deeper than my pain. Y'all, like, I'm checking to make sure the mic doesn't die. So it's like consider a time you blamed yourself for something out of your control. And then it's like list what is and what isn't within your control regarding the situation, and how can you challenge the self blame and focus with actionable steps. How can you challenge the self blame and focus on actionable steps? Y'all, a friend of mine purchased one and she was like, girl, I didn't know I needed this. And I was like, I think a lot of us do because we have got to learn how to heal and grow and embrace ourselves. So, and I'm still going, but God, what is this? What is this? This is not a business. Like, what is this? So I talked about this on another video. I don't know if I posted that video yet. I think I did for one of my ADHD people. But this is the journal that was created based off of the journey that I went through, where God told me to go work out. God told me it's time to start focusing on my health. And in 12 weeks, I lost 40 pounds. 12 weeks, I lost 40 pounds. Y'all. I think I'll post a picture in my community, here on the community page on here, because I don't want to edit this video. I just want to post it as it is. So this was based off of that. And it's still a Dear God journal, because that was part of my journey of it, was a Dear God, or, and also changing my mental diet. And so I listened to audiobooks, I listened to sermons, I listened to podcasts. And so, like, and I tracked everything. What was I doing? I'm about to actually get back to this. I'm starting November 1st, and I will be tracking my journey, documenting my journey. I'm not sure if it's going to be on here, but it'll be somewhere. So this was that. And I'm still lost though, because I'm still like, God, like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Right. And I have two more to finish making, because he brought those up to me. Because now it's like, now that you do the work, it's time to start actually reframing your thoughts towards what you actually want. And so I have two more journals to do. I am worthy and I am abundant. Well, two more to release. I have to finish putting them together, but those two to release. I am worthy. I am abundant. And so those are the two journals that I have left to do as I move into this next phase of my life. Because this has been a 12-year phase of hell. It's been a 12-year phase of hell. I can't share what started it, but I can tell you it's where I lost my light. It's where I lost my joy. It's where it's where I gained fear, right? And I've been picking fear up as I lived through these 12 years, from the police brutality situations to the political situations to the pandemic situations. But the one that kicked it off the most dealt with the fact that I could not protect my family. And I failed at that, right? And so that was just like a big thing for me. And um, instead of that, so then I wanted to start putting more fun into my life. And that's where these things came from. I'm not going to do them one by one because I don't have time. But that's where these six, what is it? So I have six activities books. These are word searches and word scrambles and stuff like that. So for ADHD people, word search and sports and children. And because, and I'm gonna tell you literally why these started. These are coloring books, a girl's journal. I have a boy's one, but I don't know where it is right now. And this puzzle book for kids. The reason these started is because I was planning to leave Earth on this side of the earth on July 26th. And so I was working really, really hard to create income streams for my children. I was. So you see, that's not my name at the bottom. That's my daughter. That one, that one, that one, and that one. That's my daughter's name. This one is my son's name, my oldest son. The boy's journal was my youngest son. And I hadn't gotten around to my other sons just yet. And this one was for my partner. I was planning income streams for them for when I wasn't here. And then on July 26th, God said, give me 60 days. Give me 60 days of obedience, and I'm going to show you something. And I was like, all right, God, I'm going to give you those 60 days. I'm going to wrap this up because this is long. I was like, all right, God, I'm going to give you these 60 days. Every time I went to go apply for a job to go back to teaching, there was a school shooting. Every single time. Before we left Georgia, I went on the Georgia website to recertify, and I could not understand a word that was on that screen. It was foreign. The letters just kept moving. And I heard God said, I told you no. Because He told me I could not go back to teaching. I could not go back to teaching. And so lately I was like, listen, God, I'm going to go back. Like, come on, man. Like, I got to help this family. Like, I'm hearing the stress. Y'all, we got a hole in our roof. We have a hole in our roof, in our ceiling. So every time it rains, it drips down. We have a hole. I won't show you because I don't want to embarrass my parents, but it's big and it's bad. There are leaks all over the place because of shoddy contractors that were hired. My mom has no cabinets because of a contractor who they hired who wanted her to lie to the insurance company so that they would get more. And so they stripped out her stuff, and she has not had cupboards or cabinets or counter space for years because of it, because it's a lot of money to get redone. It's over $30,000 for a roof. I don't know how much it is for a kitchen. Y'all, I was praying so hard about these hurricanes. Hurricanes, I'm traumatized from them, from Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Andrew. But my parents don't have shutters. Y'all, these are the shutters they have. Are you serious? That's it. That's all they have. They have like a few more. Like my dad, if a hurricane came, I'm so glad the season is nearly over. If a hurricane had come, I can't tell you what would happen. I can't. Oh my God. I pray so hard. I'm so sorry for people who had to experience those nightmares. But I pray so hard that we wouldn't be one of them. Miami. So I am done. I am not going to continue with this. Um, so to wrap it up, God made me unemployable. He made me unemployable. And I'm finally starting to understand why. Because one, I really am unemployable. As a teacher, it was such a bad job fit that I developed high blood pressure, migraines, hives. I would have busted eye vessels. It was a really, really, really bad job fit. And I should not have stayed as long as I did. But I did. And it cost me my health. So I am unemployable. And I have bigger work to do. And it starts with leaning into finding my voice and to using my voice to help other people find and use theirs as well. And that's where Girl Use Your Voice comes from. It was something I heard in my meditation time while working through therapy, and it got yelled at me, and so I'm doing that. I'm girl using my voice. It took me a year to do it because I heard it a year before I actually started it, but I'm doing it and I'm here, and this is my journey. And it's time that we start showing what real journeys are, because so many people have been putting out a fake front for the sake of business on the online entrepreneur space, and to the point where they're not okay. People are not okay. People are not okay. They are not okay. They are not okay. They are not okay because they are not being honest. And we have got to be honest so that we can start that path to healing. We are not islands. We are not to be solo. We are people who are community oriented. And it's time that we take our power back by using our voices. And so I'm going to implore before I get off of here that, girl, use your voice. It is demanded, commanded, and required of you to start showing up and using your voice to help bring healing to this world. I love you. Go do that. Bye bye.